Greetings, new hammer, middle hammer, and old hammer folks alike. I am OldGrumpyWolf, aka Lennon Midnight, and welcome to the Minibar Podcast. I'll be serving you up lots of awesome painting nerdiness, talking to other painters from around the web. Tonight at the bar, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the Space Wolf kit-bashing king himself, the Dork Depot, aka Spicy Chris Haggis. There we go. Hi, Chris. It's nice to see you.
You too, buddy. That's nice. Spicy Chris Haggis. I'm gonna have
I've been calling you that for weeks, dude.
I'm gonna have to add that to my intro when people come in, when I introduce myself.
I totally yoinked that from Dropkick Murphy's Spicy McHaggis.
Yep.
So just to let the viewers know, you're here in Las Vegas with me. Is that correct?
Yep, I am.
And how long you been in Vegas for?
I've been here for about almost 22 years.
Oh, okay.
So.
And I'm assuming you're like late 30s, early 40s, like I am.
And now,
dude,
I'll be 49 this year,
bruh. Well, hey, at least we both got the gray going on.
Yeah, I'm creeping up on that 50 mark.
I wish I could do the beard thing you got, but I don't grow anything here and I don't grow anything here. And when this grows out, it goes whoosh off to the side. Yeah. Drives me nuts.
Like you, I don't grow anything here, so I can grow it all here though.
Yeah, I would love to do that whole like cool, Space Wolves Viking beard thing and the cool orange mohawk.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So to start the show off, the first question is, what got you into Warhammer and painting miniatures?
Well, painting miniatures, I did it off and on for a few years. Probably, I started probably 20 years ago.
Okay.
25 years ago with just some buddies for our D&D campaigns. They were absolutely terrible paint jobs. They were with the craft paints from Michael's. Just slap 2 or 3 colors on them and slap the models on the table, type of thing. I did that for quite a few years. Just never really worked on improving, just kept with the same technique because I didn't need to. Then I met a friend that was one of the original painters for Privateer Press. And when I moved here to Vegas, and he started to challenge me a little bit on my painting. And then he moved and I quit painting. Just got busy doing a lot of leather work, woodwork, a lot of other things, and quit painting completely. Enjoyed watching Warhammer, watching people play, was always into it, was like, oh, I want to get this, I want to try this, but I just never could, I won't say I couldn't, I just never did. And then just before 10th edition dropped, I was
That's the latest one, right?
Yeah, that's the current edition. Dropped about a year and a half ago. I was out at War Room Games, and they have a couple theme rooms out there at the store, and they were looking to have somebody design and build a Seaport Tavern themed D&D room. So I was like, I'm down. I'm there. And
is that the one closest to the table to where we paint at?
No, it's the one down at the end of the hallway.
Oh, okay. I walked in there while Matt and Ray were eating dinner one night. Yeah,
it's down that hallway. So I designed and built that room for them and everything. But they paid me, but they also paid me in stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. I picked up the Space Wolves Combat Patrol box. There was a Logan Grimnar on Storm Rider in the consignment case. So I picked those up, picked up a few paints, some brushes. My son was with me and he was interested. So we snagged some orcs for him and came home and just started painting.
Now you've repainted that. Is that the same one that you have? The Grimnar, is that the same one you have now, or did you repaint it?
I repainted it. It was based silver. When whoever originally bought it had primed the entire thing silver. So I took it and tore it off the base and away from the wolves, stripped it down, and then completely repainted it and started over. And and did it. It was probably the fourth or fifth model that I painted.
So is that Logan Grimnar, is that what got you really into Space Wolves?
No, the thing that really interested me in the Space Wolves was the Viking aspect of it. I'm a huge fan of the Norse culture, the Scandinavian lifestyle, barbarians, of course, the Viking lifestyle, and so Space Vikings was right up my alley. It just fit. And so I was like, it was either that or orcs, because the orcs were just funny looking and looked like they'd be a lot of fun. But my son really wanted to do orcs. So I was like, well, that answers mine. I'll take Space Wolves.
And my last guest, he referenced the orcs as basically like, he's like, oh yeah, they're like the 40K version of like football hooligans.
Pretty much.
And they seem to have a really good time doing what they do.
Orcs are definitely like you could see them in a pub over in the UK screaming about their favorite team. Like that's definitely a good explanation of orcs.
And discussing the deeper meanings of DACA.
Yes, more DACA.
Yeah, I think actually that one reason why you and I initially got along was like you showed me your Space Wolves, and I'm like, oh, you got me right in the feels, dude. And I like this was what back in you and I met back in December or January.
Yeah,
it
was just before LVO.
Yeah, I mean the size of your army was just impressive. What you had in the case, and you still got that was like half of it.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with the fact that like everything in there was painted.
Pretty close. I added a bunch of stuff. I've got a couple of big things that I'm still in the process. I have an inability to pick up a model and just paint it. Mm-hmm. I really struggle with painting it the way it is. I have to change it.
Yeah.
I have to cash it. And so it takes me a little while sometimes to do things. I think other than my Fenrisian wolves, every single model I've painted has some sort of addition, kit bash, something that I've done to it.
Actually, I just made up a new question for the show, and I'm going to try it on you first tonight. We'll get to it in a little bit, but it has to do with your Space Wolves, and I think it's very appropriate for what you do. So playing off the first question, the second question is, what got you into did you get in the hobby because of gaming or painting?
Yes.
Good answer.
I loved watching people play, and the opportunity to put this big army on the table and have fun with it was definitely a bonus. Like I really enjoyed that. But seeing everybody's painted armies on the tables and the effort that people put into them. Of course you had some that just had the basic 3 colors. Let's just get it on the table with some color on it. Mm-hmm. But then you have some of those guys that spent hours and hours and hours on every single detail of every single model and it showed when they were playing the game, the pride they had in their armies. It showed. I mean, it's like the old phrase you hear, look good, play good. You feel better about your army when you've got a fully painted army on the table than a bunch of gray plastic.
Yeah. Now you went to LVO this year, correct?
Yeah.
So I know you were bouncing around. Like I bumped into you a couple of times in the vendor's room. Were you bouncing around talking to people from the gaming side?
Yeah. This is actually my second year at LVO. And I haven't played yet. I've just done like what I did this year. I just wandered around and visited with people. I had a lot of friends that were playing. And so I spent a lot of time in the different halls, watching my friends play, mm-hmm. Visiting with them. And then talking to different people about the play styles, and then just spending a lot of time in the paint aspect of it as well, sitting in paint classes and visiting with people, and just I love to learn. I love to study. That's really got me into like the Viking culture and the history, mm-hmm. like the history of it, the lore. the lifestyles and everything. Just I love to study history, and so learning new techniques and new ways to approach my paint schemes. And like we've visited and stuff about the Ragnar model that I recently finished, and I think this is the first paint scheme on one of my Space Wolves that I really like. I've got like 9 or 10 different paint schemes that I've done on armor for the Space Wolves, and I've hated every one of them because I couldn't find something I really enjoyed. And now I think I've found something that in this last one I did, now that I'm 2,200, 2,300 points into painting this army, I'm like, big. Oh, sweet. I found something I like.
And we'll definitely get to that later, because I do like I want to bring up your Ragnar when I show the Instagram thing off, because like that's really impressive what you did. I was really stoked to like see you finish this thing.
Oh, thank you.
One experience I did want to talk about from LVO was like going out in the smoking area. Because I vape, obviously I do it on the show, but going out in the smoking area and just being able to converse with people, because there was always people out there to chat with.
Right.
It was kind of heartbreaking to hear like so many people dislike the painting aspect of the hobby. They're like, oh, I just had to slap this together just to get it on the table because LVO wouldn't let us use plastic stuff and da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
And it was really heartbreaking, because it's like, I think, like, I don't play. I've only ever played 2 games of 40K in my entire life. I played the crap out of Space Hulk though. But we'll have to do that one night at War Room. I've still got my second edition completes. But like the painting aspect of it, especially for people who are really into the gaming side of it, it allows the chance for you to be very unique on the tabletop. There was a guy who painted up, he had I think a 2,000 point army or 1,500 point he was fielding, but his models, they were so insanely unique looking. I forgot exactly what chapter it was, but his highlighting was like really extreme and really edgy, and also like he used what's that grass stuff that War Room just picked up?
Gamer's grass?
Yeah, gamer's grass. He was using a lot of their blue and pink grass on his bases.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you could spot that dude's models from like across the room. They were so cool looking with all this, like, actually his whole theme I think was like pink and black for his miniatures as well.
Okay.
So I
think I know which one you were talking about.
Yeah, to me, like, I mean, they weren't going to like win any Golden Demon awards, but they were really well painted. They were all, cohesive in what units they were or what army they belonged to. And to me, it's like, it's an expression of, I don't know, like just, it's an expression of yourself having your miniatures painted on the tabletop, whether you're just starting out or you've been somebody like me who's been painting for 30 years.
Right.
So I don't understand the aspect of like, oh, I just want a game, I hate painting. It's like, oh, dude, you're missing out on like the best part. You get to make this a part of you. This is your army.
Yeah, there's so much to it. Like, there's something about like, yeah, you could put an army on the table, and I've played a lot of games where I've just had just the plastic models, these gray models on the table, and and it was fun, and it was fun to play. And but having an army putting an army on the table that I've painted, that I've worked on, that I've put my soul into painting these, is so much more rewarding. And I'm more excited to play. I'm much more excited to play and put my army on the table because, yeah, this is me. This shows an aspect of me on the table. Mm-hmm. If GW didn't want us to be unique, they would sell the models pre-painted.
Yeah.
We would have every army be the exact same paint scheme,
kind of like HeroClix.
The exact same paint jobs, the same basing, everything would be the same. The opportunity that they give us with all the different bits and the sprues and the different ways that we can build our models, mm-hmm. lets us express us. And for me, that's, I guess painting would be the better part of the hobby for me, because it allows me to express myself and get all of those things that are inside outside and put them into a model.
See, I guess like you came into 40K at kind of an odd time. Like I was out of it for 12 years and coming back in, I think I came back in around the same time as you did. But the only thing I think that kind of bugs me, it's a plus and a minus in some ways. Like Games Workshop models now, I mean, they look great. They look the best they've ever been. Like as far as detail, as far as like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the expression of the action the model's doing, Ragnar Blackmane jumping off the rock with his sword behind him and whatnot. But I think like the one thing that I rubs me the wrong way in current times is everybody's models are the same for the most part. Like you have to convert your models to add uniqueness to them. Whereas like the way the eras that I grew up in with painting, you had multi-piece models where like the torsos and the legs were separate, the arms were separate, the weapons were separate, the head was separate. So you could actually physically pose the models in whatever way that you wanted. And I think in modern times, it's both, it would be a plus and a minus as well, because that type of building was quite different than what we have now. What you have now, basically you go through the booklet and figure out like, okay, this is part 2, part 19, and part 27 to make the complete model. Whereas back then it was 2, 17, 19, 14, 17, 18, optional, 16, 24, 42, and 36.
Yeah, there definitely is some structure to the build. I mean, you still have the arms are still separate pieces. The heads are separate pieces. So you can turn your arms in different ways and height. And do you want them out further? Do you want them in closer? Your main poses though are pretty static, and basic throughout the kit. And what they want you to do is how you build it, unless you're willing to take that next step and actually get in, cut the torso off of the lower body, turn it, move it, reposition it, resculpt part of it, stuff like that. And that's like, for me, I'm okay with that. Like I'm fine with going in and tearing a model completely down and cutting it into tiny pieces. And
I've seen you do it.
Because people laugh when I'm actually streaming. They're like, your desk is a mess when I'm working on the builds, because like I just dump bits in piles all over. Like right now I'm working on some assault intercessors and for my Space Wolves, and I've got a pile of heads and a pile of shoulders and a pile of arms and a pile of weapons and shields and like just piles of stuff all over here. So as I'm building each one, I'll be like, well, I want to do this pose, or, this guy I want to do with a hammer, two-handed hammer to his side. Well, this body's not going to work. So I've got to cut the torso off, twist the body. I've got to resculpt this part of it. I've got to cut the arm in 4 different places to rebuild the arm.
I remember that night.
Of thing. Yeah. But, but that's, for me, that's part of the enjoyment of the hobby is creating something like that. Because now when I put my models on the table, there's no other models like mine in the game room. Like there's people that might have some of the same bits that I've gotten from different companies, or pieces that I'm using from other Space Wolf kits, but there's not another model that's, well, other than like Logan, Grimnar, and Ragnar that I really didn't change. There's nothing else that's like my intercessors or my assault intercessors, my jump pack intercessors. There's nothing like them else on the table. And that gives me a really good sense of pride and accomplishment that, that's mine. That is mine when I can, and it makes it a lot of fun for me.
And speaking of, your models being yours, there's actually, I've meant to ask you for a while now, like all those shields that you use, where are you getting those from?
Most of them are just 3D prints that I've found, different files, from a bunch of different companies. One of the, probably the biggest company that a lot of the stuff I get from is Grey Tide Studios. They're a huge one. And then, Cyberbrush is another up and coming one that I've been talking to quite a bit, and he's been designing a bunch of Space Wolf stuff. So I just go out there and search till I find something that I want, even if it's like a giant shield print of something, and then just resize it down, tear some details out of it, and use it. for, whatever I'm looking for.
That's actually one of my favorite aspects about like all the stuff you've converted is like all those cool like wooden Norse shields. It works perfectly. It adds such a uniqueness to like everything that you've put them on.
Yeah, a lot of them. One thing about the Space Wolves that GW has done right has been their shields. Mm-hmm. I love their Wolfen and Terminator shields. And most of those sculpts are super old sculpts, but they did them very, very well. I really enjoy them, and I use a lot of them. I've just recently had to start printing different shields because I've run out of them because I've used so many, because I'm like my models have shields on almost everything. And a lot of it isn't just like, I am definitely a purveyor of the rule of cool. I do not build my models for what weapon loadouts or, kit loadouts they have in the game. I just got to tell my opponent, hey, this is what they got. This guy's using a chainsword and a plasma pistol. Yes, I know he's got a giant axe over the top of his head coming down to chop something up, but this is what he's really using. It just looks cool.
Yeah, just again, everything I've seen that you pull out of your case and all the stuff I've seen on your Instagram, you really go the extra mile to make everything unique, and it's really cool to see, because like, Space Wolves are just they're kind of begging for those kind of conversions. I mean, it even harkens back all the way to the 90s. I don't know if you know the guy Kim Cyberg, who did the God tier Space Wolves that a lot of his old Hammer guys are into. And like almost every single model that he painted and was featured in his article in White Dwarf, he had like some kind of minor to major conversion work done on. And a lot of your stuff really reminds me of what Kim Cyberg set out to do with his stuff. And it's so neat to see, like in modern times, that, like when you field your army, like there's never going to be another Space Wolf army like anybody plays that looks like yours, because it's so unique and it's so cool.
Thank you. That's a lot of fun. It brings me a lot of enjoyment doing that. Like I'm starting to learn more love for the paint aspect, mm-hmm. but my love definitely is building and kit bashing. If I could just do that all the time, I'd be fine.
What do you mean if you can do that? You do that all the time.
Yeah, but if I didn't have to paint.
Oh, okay.
I'm gaining a greater love for the paint, and I'm getting more comfortable with it. But I definitely, like, my strong suit is definitely with the kit bash, the green stuff, learning more of the green stuff, mm-hmm. and getting better with some of the small detail stuff. But that's definitely where my enjoyment really is in the build process.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. And like I already know the answer to this, but what kind of paints do you use for painting your models with?
Primarily, everything I use is ProAcryl.
Okay.
I last year at LVO, a friend of mine, because originally, of course, I started with all the Citadel colors and stuff like that, but a friend of mine gifted me the basic set of ProAcryls.
Okay.
And then he threw in a couple extra colors in there and everything. And I just loved the paints. I loved the way the pigment worked, everything else. And then last July I was painting with a buddy, and he introduced me to AK.
Okay.
And so I started using a little bit more AK paints. I really love using AK paints through my airbrush. I really like the way that they flow out of the airbrush and everything like that. So it's really like I own a lot more ProAcryl. Like I almost have their entire collection of paints, including multiples of their wizard butt paints.
I heard about those at LVO.
Dude, that is one of the coolest. Like I don't want to say sales pitches but it's just such a cool, fun item that Monument Hobbies does with their wizard butt paints. It's just something fun, and it's fun.
Hold on, before you go too much further, what are the wizard butt paints?
So wizard butt is whenever they come out with a new color, what they'll do before they release it is they'll release a very limited run of it, like think it's like less than 200,
Mm-hmm.
with a label on it that the color is called Wizard's Butt. And the only way to get them is to either win them through giveaways from their stream or different things, or get them from their booth at different conventions. LVO this year, they had 3 different colors of Wizard Butt for new colors coming out. You had to show them a model that you painted with ProAcryl,
Mm-hmm.
take a selfie with them, post it on Instagram, and they gave you a free bottle of Wizard's Butt.
Okay.
And so, so I've won a couple. I had a buddy give me one, and then I got one from LVO this year. So I've got a few different ones. And then once, they'll do that just for that limited run, and then they'll actually release it as a full color with its real name later on into their full paint line.
Now, is it based around how well the color does, or is it just like testing colors to make sure that it's going to work?
I don't know how they really choose what's going to be a Wizard's Butt. Like the color I got from LVO, I'm going to make sure here real quick. It was like a swampy green color.
Okay.
So I don't know. I wanted to ask Jason, but he wasn't there at LVO this year.
Yeah.
Like, how do you decide who gets to be a Wizard Butt and what doesn't? Because it's just such a clever, fun thing that they do. But I love their paints. I love the way that they go onto the models, the flow out of the brush. I'm not a very technical painter with all this stuff, but in my very barbarian way, paint work good.
Paint work good. Do paint.
Yes.
No,
So,
it kind of sucks that you weren't around for the third edition Citadel colors that they had out. The third edition Citadel paints were actually very, very similar to ProAcryl, and what I mean by third edition is their 2000s formula. The current formula, like I've said before, I'm just not a fan of their current formula for most of their paints. I don't like the medium that they're using. It's just weird. It's like there's more medium than there is pigment in the paint itself. But yeah, the third generation paints were very much like ProAcryl, and it seems like ProAcryl really kind of continued that legacy on and improved on it by adding like a lot more pigment. The third edition paints were basically like Games Workshop was trying to go matte with almost everything they had, and they pulled it off fairly well. I've talked to some people from that era who are like, oh, like they those paints suck, they were too thin, I think one thing that people forget about modern time paints or modern paints is like the amount of pigment is just it's so much in the paint now that like it seems to be like everyone's goal to like have like ultimate coverage in one coat or like 2 thin coats or whatever. But yeah, I think you would really like third generation paints a lot. Now the bottles are a whole different story. the third edition first gen bottles were screw tops, and those things were terrible. And then they went back to the flip top designs, and then they moved into bottles that are pots that are similar to what we have now. And then for the fourth edition paints, fourth generation paints, Games Workshop makes those entirely in house now because their biggest thing was.
What edition was they had the like the hexagon completely clear bottles with the black flip top lid?
Third gen.
Was that third gen?
Yeah. So like first gen was the cylinder pots.
I do have a couple of those. Like they're dried up and they're, but I have a couple of the pots I kept.
Well, the problem with those pots was like versus the original cylinder ones and the second version hex pots, the third edition hex or third generation hex pots with the flip top lids, they were not airtight. Yeah. Which was like it's kind of built-in obsolescence, which is a typical business measure, but like you have paints from the 80s and the 90s and the original cylinder pots and the second edition hex pots that you get a good seal on the lid, they're still good to this day. Right. And you got guys on eBay selling pots of Goblin Green for like $300. But
yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, and you the AK stuff is actually like I'm starting to figure it out how to work with it better. It requires a lot of water, but it's got that matte finish to it, and it's really cool. And like you can actually reactivate the paints like you can with ProAcryl, which is really neat.
I had the opportunity to at LVO to sit down with one of their artists and just sat there for probably about 45 minutes. AK.
Okay.
Just sat down with him and visited and talked about, he was painting some stuff. So he was like, well, here, just handed me a random model he had sitting on the table. And we were working on some stuff, and he was showing me how to use their paints this way and that way and different things. And I really enjoyed them and had a lot of fun with them. And so when, I'm a huge supporter of, or purveyor of, support your local game store, and so when War Room said that they were getting the AK paints, when they went over at the end of LVO and bought out almost everything at the booth, I was super excited because I wanted to buy some, but I wanted War Room to get the paints so that I could buy them from War Room, so that I could support them. And so, there was 2 or 3 sets that I wanted from AK, and I was like, you guys should pick up that set and that set.
And those are the little box sets they got up on the shelves, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Those little 4-pack ones. They're like, oh, does Chris want that set? And I said, yes, he does.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I was super pumped that War Room picked up AK. Like, buddy, my first guest, Warheezy, like that's all he uses, and he's been recommending him to me for like ever since we started talking, and I've been stoked on trying AK, and I'm glad that War Room picked him up. I think I went over there last like Thursday or Friday and picked up a couple of colors. And I was looking for a replacement for Citadel Doom Bull Brown, which is what I paint my bases with because they don't make terracotta anymore. And Doom Bull Brown was the closest thing to it. But like to get a decent coat of brown around my base rims, I have to do like 4 or 5 coats that are like watered down to get it right. And I picked up, I think it's called AK Rust Hull.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like damn near a spot on match to like Citadel's original terracotta, and it just, oh god, it works great. I was using it for that towel bust I was painting up to shade the blue gray, but god, that stuff's nice.
Yeah, I really like their stuff. I really liked the fact like the little 4-pack sets, like the blue plasma, green plasma, dark skin, cold skin, different ones. They put a little QR code on the back, and it takes you right to a YouTube video of, how they're using that to achieve what they're doing. Oh, that's cool. It's really nice. Unfortunately, it's not in English. And so, but it is subtitled, but it's, oh, now I can't even remember who it is that was painting it. They have one of his, signature sets too, but, so you have to read the subtitles and then look at what he's doing. So you kind of have to watch the video 2 or 3 times to get it all, since you can't just listen. But I mean, it's still like I tried their blue plasma on some stuff with my jump pack intercessors recently, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I love this. Like this is the easiest glow that I've been able to pull off on a plasma gun or in runes on a weapon. Like I've tried a dozen different ways to do it, and this was the easiest to understand and do and pull off successfully.
Now, to go back to AK, or I'm sorry, to ProAcryl, like what do you think about using their paints, like in general? Like how easy is it for you to achieve what you're trying to do?
I think it's extremely easy. Like I honestly. Any of my friends that get started painting, the first thing I tell them is to go get that the base set of ProAcryl.
Yeah.
Go get that base set. It's got all your basic colors that you're going to need. You can mix it to get any of the colors that you need. And I don't know if it comes with titanium white yet in that set, but that's like, I would like get the base set and get titanium white.
Oh yeah.
Or if you use any other paint set, go get titanium white from ProAcryl. Like it is, in my opinion, the best white that you can get out there.
Oh, I'm in complete agreement with you. When I did my my Space Wolf, that's actually directly below my picture, my Space Wolf Terminator last year for Olden Demon. Excuse me. I was trying to, I use two different whites. I use Vallejo white and ProAcryl titanium white, or whatever it was called. And I was trying to recreate the glazing effect that I used to get with Citadel's third generation paints. And I couldn't do it with Vallejo. So I went and bought Citadel, whatever their brightest white is, plus ProAcryl white. And I tried the ProAcryl white first. And I mean, it was immediate. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. Like,
right.
Exactly as I remembered. I just took the Citadel white. I'm like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
But,
I actually, when I first started using the ProAcryls and everything, I loved it so much. I ended up going into a war room and like, I bought them out. Like they had like 5 or 6 of them there. I bought them out and then I used them as giveaways.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm like, you guys need to try this paint. Like if you're not using it, here, have one. And I used it as giveaways because it's such like, out of any of the paints that I've used, I've got a bunch of Vallejo. I've got the Citadel. I've got the ProAcryl. I've got, a bunch of them sitting here. The ProAcryl, I think, is the most user-friendly, in my opinion, especially if you're just learning. The learning curve using ProAcryl, I think, is the smallest curve. It's the easiest to get right into advancing yourself because you're not trying to fight against the paint to get the paint to do what you want it to do. It does it's almost like it's like, oh, I know what you wanted to do. Here you go. Let me do it for you. Now you can learn to do this. And I think that the way that they make the ProAcryl is very, very user-friendly, very beginner-friendly, and advanced. I mean, you can do very advanced stuff with it. It's got such a good range.
Yeah. I think actually the one argument I will present against like beginners using it is ProAcryl doesn't have the stepping system that like Army Painter and Citadel and even Two Thin Coats have. I think it's called the Triad system, where you have, you start with this color. Here are like the 4 or 5 intermediate colors that you work all the way up to the top 2.
Right.
So like there's that learning curve, but that learning curve is a very old school style learning curve. Like for viewers who are new to the show or to new to painting, back when like old hammer folks like us, the old Citadel paint line is the way it's structured is actually the way ProAcryl is structured, in that there is no stepping system. You had to learn how to mix your paints to achieve certain colors, to achieve highlights and stuff like that. So the whole modern trend of like contrasting colors for shadows and whatnot, that was actually kind of a common thing back then, where you kind of had to learn the color spectrum, the color wheel. But as far as what Chris is talking about is like usability, ProAcryl is actually one of the easiest paints to use, period, if you can get over the hump of not having a triad system.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
I think for a lot of folks, the triad system has helped people get into painting and make it more understandable for them. Like, okay, you want to paint ultramarines or you want to paint orcs. Here's the 5 colors you need for the armor. Here's the 5 colors you need for the skin. Here's the 4 colors you need for the reds, the armor, like that. Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier for people to get into. But again, as you said, ease of use. Oh, absolutely. ProAcryl is one of the easiest paints to use out there. You're not fighting the paint. The paint is really thin. It's not loaded with acrylic medium. Almost all the colors dry matte, and actually blending on matte, like wet blending or glazing, is so much easier than like colors that dry with a more satin or gloss finish.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's what when I did those jump pack intercessors on the smoke on them.
Oh, those things are so cool.
Exhaust,
I love those things.
That's all ProAcryl, just the wet blending through them and everything like that. And that was the first time I'd really tried something like that. And so I was really happy with the way they came out and everything. And that was and then like ProAcryl fluorescence. Have you tried those out?
No, I haven't. I don't do a lot of like you've seen my stuff. I do like the brighter style painting.
What's brighter?
I haven't tried them out. I've been curious about them, so I might actually try some of yours next time I'm over at the shop.
Yeah, definitely. Their fluorescents are so fun to use. They're super, super bright. It's actually kind of fun. I tried painting with them under a black light, and it was a lot of fun to paint with them under the black light.
How did the results for that turn out? Like when you hit them with the black light, are they actually UV reactive?
Yeah, it was. That's the Christmas tree that I did.
I think it was awesome.
Is all of the lights and everything on that, and the whole underglow of the tree. I did with, it was like 90% of that tree is fluorescence from ProAcryl.
Oh, nice.
And it just made it so much fun. It made it such a cool look to give it this cool glow from just using all those.
I've been tempted to try out their neon green to try to do my Mentor Legions with, because I think I'm using their yellow green right now.
Okay.
And I wanted to go something a little bit brighter with their paints. I actually bought a yellow green from AK, so I think I kind of cornered myself with that, because I tried test painting with it and it worked out really good.
Yeah. Hey, that's always nice when you're like, oh, I don't know what I'll try. Let me just try this one. And you're like, oh, yay, that's the right one.
The only crap thing is like my storage for my paints is pretty limited. And so I've been kind of like pulling old stuff out that I want to replace with paints that I know will work better for me than when I started got back into it a year ago. Like I know like the ProAcryl yellow green and the AK, whatever, the bright green, yellowish green I got from them works so much better than the Vallejo yellow green that I had, even though I'm keeping that because it works well for glazing the green tint onto my Mentors. Oh, okay. But yeah, I've pulled a bunch of like my Citadel paints and my Vallejo paints and like given them to one of my best friends. Like, I'm not using this. I've replaced it with way better paints that I like. Right. And something for if it's down to about 10 or 12 spaces left. Something for like any novice people watching the show. Honestly, there is no right paint. And I think that's something that a lot of podcasters and a lot of people don't talk about. There's no, it's like using Photoshop. Photoshop there's 10 ways of doing the same thing for everything. So there is no right paint. You have to experiment and play around and find out what works for you. Sometimes you'll find the paint that works for you right off the bat. Other times you may have to bounce between brands to find what works for you for what you're doing. Right. And it's not just like, if you're painting ultramarines, you might find that you're using ProAcryl ultramarine blue for the base coat. You might use Citadel Nuln Wash for your deep recess shading. And then you might find that Citadel white works for you to highlight the ultramarines armor up with. And like the shoulder pads, the yellow they use gold now. Yeah, metallics, you might find Citadel metallics work better, or Vallejo, or ProAcryl. It doesn't matter. But again, just the whole point is there is no right paint. It's just whatever works for you. Exactly. Yeah, you can definitely take everybody's input and stuff like that. And it's just like learning to do everything. You know, I've watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos and tutorials and trying to figure out this and that and how I want to do this and that. But it ultimately comes down to taking what you see and making it work for the best for you. Absolutely. How can I take that paint style that I really like, but I cannot emulate and copy? How can I make myself achieve that? Yep. And I think that when you do that, it makes you a better painter. Yeah. Because now it's a comfort thing. Yeah, it forces you out of your comfort zone. Trying to do something that this guy does, you know. Yes, I really like this style. I really, really enjoy it. But I can't achieve that. I can't get that look. So what can I achieve that makes me happy? Well, I did this. It was comfortable for me to do it this way, and I'm super, super happy with it. And I felt like I achieved that. So I'm going to use bits of this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I'm going to make my own. Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of like the doctrine of painting tutorials and what everybody else does and trying your own thing. It helps you grow as an artist. Right. It helps you grow at your whatever skill and craft you take up, and not just painting models, but trying things that are outside your norm, trying to implement them into your workflow. It helps you grow as an artist, as what you do with your skills. And it's always a good thing. At first it can be painful and it sucks, but it does give you, it makes you look at the overall picture of what you're doing, the spectrum of what you're doing. And it helped. Like, one thing I brought up in last episode was I mentioned that, like, your worst pieces whatever you make, your worst pieces are always your best pieces, because you overanalyze the hell out of them because you see everything wrong with them. Right. And you take that knowledge and you try to apply it going forward. And once you hit the point where you're like, this is my best piece, you've just hit a plateau and you have to get off that plateau. So with what you're saying, trying different things, trying different methods, trying different colors to achieve the effect that you see on the screen, you think you might have nailed it yourself, but you see somebody else doing it differently and you want to try that. Absolutely try that, because that will get you off your plateau and force you to be like, oh, I just found a whole new way to do something and it works so much better. Right.
Yeah. One of the worst things I hear when people are explaining things to other people is, and I understand it, but when somebody says the best way to do it, or the most, I don't want to say successful, and I don't want to be like, I haven't heard it that many times, but when somebody's like, well, the only way to do it, but when somebody says the best way to do it is this, and for me, it's not an angering thing, but it's like, no, it's not the best way to do it. For you, yes. 100% for you, that is the best way. It's your most comfortable and successful way to do it. But you can still explain it that way, but just rephrase it to, well, the way I found the most success for myself was through this. I was sitting with one of the guys at Hobby Night the other night, and he was struggling with plasma coils on a plasma pistol. And I'm very, like, I'm going to say I'm a noob to that, because it scared me to do them. So I just didn't put plasma pistols on anything, but I had a couple models that I put them on. So I'm like, oh, now I got to learn how to do it. And so he was asking me, and I says, I can't tell you the best way, the right way. I can tell you a lot of wrong ways to do it, because I've found a lot of them. I said, but this is something that I found success with. This is a way that I found success with it. And I explained it to him, and he was kind of stuck on a couple things. And so I had to rephrase my teaching to something that he understood a little bit more. And then he picked up on it, and he was like, oh, so like this. And I'm like, right, there you go. You put it into a term that you understood it. And now you can build off of that term, and you can go from there. And by the end of the night, he was super excited with his plasma coils. He was like, I'm super happy with the results. I can go do more of these now. I was like, all right, sweet. That's the purpose of this. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, there's one thing like that I really admire about you, since you and I started talking, is like you hosting the painting nights at War Room. I really like how you conduct yourself in helping people and teaching people. You're very open, you're very easy to talk to, and I've listened to like the way that you help people, and you do an excellent job at it. And Thank you. I think one thing that's a major benefit for you with your painting and what you do is that you're experimenting, you're messing around, you're doing your thing, you're developing your own thing, but you're also like encouraging others to do that. But with you sitting down with people and telling them you may want to try this instead of this, you're actually realigning your own focus, or rather your own understanding of what you do with your own models. And it's really cool to see that. Not everyone has the capability of doing that, and it's very encouraging, and it's very uplifting. It's very positive, like, to hear. I've even started like taking cues from you when people ask me questions about how do you Old Grumpy Wolf, how do you do this, how do you do that, and they're like what you just said. I've really gotten through my own dome is like, it's not the best way of doing it. Here's just how I would approach it. And you might take one or two things from what I'm teaching you and incorporate it into your own workflow. And I just genuinely hope that what I help you with helps you in the long run.
Right. Yeah, I know I'm, still very, very new to it. I know I'm not the best painter at hobby night. I mean, I have a lot of fun with it. I know I'm not the best one there.
That's the important part, what you just said. You have a lot of fun with it.
Yes, I have a lot of fun with it. And I try to listen, and I don't accomplish very much at hobby night for my own stuff.
I don't think any of us
do. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of laughs. It's a lot of fun. But I spend a lot of time watching others. I think I missed my calling in life. I think I would have been a pretty good teacher. And because I really enjoy that. I mean, I've been a coach for sports for, I don't even know how many. I started coaching Little League basketball when I was like 16 or 17 years old.
Okay, so that's where it comes from.
Yeah. And so I've coached basketball, baseball, soccer, softball, just growing up, track, all these different things. And then just my love of learning myself, it's, you can never stop learning.
Yeah.
If you're going to stop learning, if you think you've learned enough, you might as well just give up.
Yep.
You might as well quit, because you can never learn enough. You can never continue to stop that knowledge from coming in. And that's one of the greatest things that I've found for myself through the hobby night is the opportunity to sit with other painters and learn, because I can watch 1,000 videos and everything like that and listen to people explain it, but getting the firsthand opportunity to sit down, that's what I love about LVO. That's why I don't play at LVO. I'd love to play, but having the opportunity to sit down in one-on-one opportunities. And I've taken classes with Caleb Wissenbeck, where there was only 3 of us in the class, and Sam Lentz, there was 5 of us. For 3 hours, we just sat and chit-chatted and stuff. Having the opportunity to sit with Lucas and Emil from Squidmar at LVO.
I love those guys.
Dude, there was so much fun, and we hung out for 3 hours, just painting and asking, just chit-chatting like friends.
Yeah.
And just like we do at hobby night, asking questions of one another. They were asking people just as many questions as people are asking them. Well, how did you do this? And a lot of times I notice that if somebody says, how do you approach this? Or how do you do this? Well, and their reverse question was, well, how do you approach it? What's your starting point?
Yeah.
Because once you learn, you can't teach anybody unless you know what their knowledge level is, first of all, because you need to adjust your teaching to that knowledge level. I can explain plasma coils to you in a much more technical and advanced way as I could to this kid the other night at hobby night.
Yeah.
Because you understand a lot more of the technical side of the paint. I had to bring all of that way back and approach it from a different aspect for him and put it in terms that he can understand. And I noticed that Emil was that way a lot. He really brought his explanations, if I can talk right, explanation. Not he didn't dumb it down for you, but he brought it down to a paint level and a technique level that made you understand it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then once he could see that light bulb click on in your head that you understood, then he would start pushing the technique on you.
Yeah.
And getting you further along. Caleb is the same way. Dan Osborne was the same way. Sean, Brush for Hire, same way.
Oh, he was one of the judges for the 50 millimeter or below scale.
Yeah.
I got to talk to him about my Ulrich Slayer, and that threw me for a loop, because he's like, I told the guy, I was like, flat out, I didn't think I'd place. I didn't think you guys would even look at this thing, because it's 90s style painting. And he's like, oh no, the complete opposite. He's like, all of us were talking about your model. He's like, we rarely get to see 90s painting style like this. And we were all like, wow, this is really cool. we haven't seen this in a while. And he's like, you know, if you entered this in the 90s, especially the late 90s, you would have walked away with the Slayer sword at Golden Demon. And I was just absolutely floored. But it was really cool hearing like my painting style was still relevant. And also getting to pick his brain about things to improve upon. We were talking about other people's miniatures, their painting styles, and just hearing an actual judge's point of view of like the way that he looked at what everybody brought to the table. And that guy he was super cool. I'm actually trying to get him on the show. He was really nice. He was really intelligent, very experienced.
Yeah. Sean's a super cool guy.
Yeah.
Super cool. I've been a member of his Twitch community for quite a while now. And that's when I found out when he was going to be teaching at LVO. I'm like, as soon as I found that out,
he did classes there too?
I'm taking a class. Huh?
He did classes too?
Yeah, he did. Oh, okay. He did, I think, 4 classes. Like, and the names of his classes, like the one that I took from him was Saturated Unicorn Farts.
How to paint wizard butts.
Yeah, that was the name of the class. Like, and we painted. He's got a friend that makes a lot of like designs a lot of 3D models, and he does a lot of rubber ducks. But
nice.
He did noise marine rubber ducks, and that's what we got to paint in his paint class.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, dude, they were amazing. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were doing all the classes there either.
Yeah, and that's what I did a lot of is I went around and just hung out with people and took classes, and that's I love about LVO is just the opportunity to meet so many people, because like the biggest thing that I've gained from the last year and a half to 2 years that I've been in this hobby is this is one of the most amazing communities as far as all aspects of it. Not the hobby, the gaming, everything is one of the most amazing communities that I've seen in any type of spectrum of art or life or anything. Everybody is so open. I've only met one person in all of my experiences with people that I was like, afterwards, I'm like, I don't ever want to talk to you again. And that was it. One out of thousands.
Yeah.
And of people. And it doesn't matter if they're been in the hobby for 2 weeks and they're just starting, or if you're talking to people like, you know, like yourself or like Emil and Lucas and Sam Lentz. You're talking, and those guys, because they're just, you know, we were sitting there when they were getting ready to do the judging or announce the winners for the Furco stuff. And I was just standing there, I was talking to somebody, and Sam and Uncle Adam comes walking by, and they stopped. We were chit-chatting for a second, and Sam's like, dude, come and hang out with us. We're going to go watch all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. And so I walked over with them, and the three of us just stood there and just chit-chatted for, 45 minutes. We talked about paint jobs. Uncle Adam asked me, how would you approach this style or something, like it was cool. Like they respected my opinion as much as I respected their opinions and the amazing artists that they are. And so it's really cool that you're in a community that even if you're just starting, there's somebody out there that's gonna be like, I really like what you did there. Teach me how you did that. Show me how you did that, because I want that on my models.
No, that's one thing I've noticed since I got back into this and started really, interacting with the community, like through Instagram and through Reddit and all that stuff. And like even in person, like hanging out with you at LVO and meeting Emil and Lucas. There's just so much positivity in the painting aspect. And I don't know about the gaming aspect because I'm not in that side, but just the sheer painting aspect of it. It's so uplifting and encouraging and motivating. I had like with my business that I'm trying to sell right now. I've run a brand of, I make body kits, suspension and apparel for the Nissan 240SX. And the car scene is very, very, very different than the painting scene.
It is.
To me, like now being post car scene, there's so much negativity. There's so many nasty things that are said by people. Social media tends to be a cesspool of negativity, but the thing I found in the painting scene is that there's the negativity that's there, it's very easy to brush aside, because for every one negative person, there's a good 50 to 100 people who are just like, it doesn't matter their skill level. They're just like, dude, that looks awesome. Like, hey, I've been trying to figure this out. How did you do that? That looks really cool. I'd really like to try that. And the person replies, and then the person who asked the question, they reply, and it's just this positive ongoing conversation. And, meeting all the different paint brands, running into different painters, everything at LVO was just like, to me, that was a godsend. It was just like, wow, I feel fortunate to be part of this community. Like, I honestly feel very fortunate and very blessed. And, at least like the one thing about the car community taught me was like, I have a very thick skin, and, if you get under that skin, I'll give you 1 or 2 warnings and then I'll snap at you, and you probably don't want that. But for the most part, like you've experienced with me, I'm a very open and welcoming person, and I like to chat with other people. Like you especially. I think we've got a good rapport going, and we've got a good bond going. But just exactly what you said, everybody is just so open and welcoming, and there's like no gatekeeping. The people. It seems to me that people who gatekeep, they can't evolve out of their little plateau. Right. And as you said earlier, it's like, no, you're stuck, and that's not good. But actually, one thing I wanted to comment on about LVO that I'm a little envious of, but I'm looking forward to October, is that going like literally the Friday last year when I went and started buying more paints and stuff, there was a guy I ran into at Little Shop here in town, and I was talking to him. He's like, dude, are you going to LVO? And I'm like, what's that? He's like, oh, dude, it's a big gaming expo. They have a painting competition and all this. And I was like, no, I feel a little overwhelmed. I need to get my feet wet first, and I'll dive in, in 25. But like, even like going into it 25, LVO is really overwhelming. There's so much stuff going on.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. Now with it being moved to October, at least we get 2 in a year. I know it pissed a lot of people off, but at least we get 2 in a year. So when I go back to LVO this year, like, I know what to expect, and it's like, okay, I'm going to dive in head first, and I know what to expect this time. Let's just friggin' do it. Yeah.
And that's, I had a buddy with me from Canada this year at LVO, and
I met him at, he was playing. I met him at War Room.
Yeah. So he just kind of was here for the experience of LVO, but I drug him to paint classes. I drug him to all these different things. I was introducing him to people I hate being one of those people that be like a name dropper. Yeah, I was hanging out with Sam Lentz or that.
Oh, no, it's fine,
I was hanging out with these people, but I do it, and especially in this community, to show that like those are people that like you see them on their videos and you see them win all these awards. And you're like, holy cow, that's like, they're way up here. Yeah, they're way up here, but then you start to talk to them, and they're like, it's not that what's the best way to put this? The way that I found, visiting with those guys is they don't show that there's a gap between you and them. Yeah. They straight up reach down, they grab you by the shoulders, they lift you up, they sit you on the level they're on, and they talk to you as an equal. Yeah. And I haven't, minus one experience, I've not, like, all these guys, these big names, every one of them, Dan Osborne is someone that I follow on Instagram, and I love his stuff. Like all of the Titans and the Knights he does, his weathering aspect and everything like that is a huge thing. And I met him for the first time at LVO, and he saw me and he yells at me and stuff like that. I turn, I'm like, hey. And he comes up and gives me a big old hug, like we had never met before, but we'd communicated and stuff through chat and through different posts and stuff like that. Like, like we were old friends. He treated me like an equal, like I was one of his good friends. We laughed and chatted for a second. We met up later on again to visit again. And that's one of the things about this community and this hobby that's so great is, dude, it's just a bunch of nerds that love being nerds, are proud to be nerds, and you know what? Let's just be nerds together. Yep.
Well, it's actually, that's like the whole reason I started this podcast was like me growing up, just being pretty much exclusively a painter. finding other painters in Vegas, it was really difficult. And my goal since starting painting again in 24 was like, I wanted to do this podcast where I actually got to talk to people who were enthusiastic, who painted, who really enjoyed and had fun with their craft and what they do, because, like painters like me, we live under a rock and we rarely come out to see sunshine. But no, it's a way of like conversing about exactly what you said, like bringing people up and supporting them and giving encouragement. And, like for me personally, just hearing everybody's story about how they got into this, because to me, it's fascinating. Right. And it usually leads to a lifelong obsession. But no, it's just it's a way to reach out and actually talk to other people like you, like the previous guests I've had on, where it's like, okay, let's spend the next hour and a half to 2 hours just being total nerds, just being total dorks about these silly little army guys that we paint.
And we can be proud of it.
Oh yeah,
because we're with other people that are just as proud of it. You don't have
absolutely.
to hide it.
So, so just to move along and get out of this, but I actually adore what we just talked about. This is really cool. I like where this is going. This is the question that I specifically made up for you. Is what got you into kit bashing? Because I mean, you're a god at it. Like the stuff that you do is so cool. Like none of your miniatures, every single one is edited or tweaked in some way for your style. So what got you into kit bashing?
I think it's just it's the way I look at things.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm a very creative person.
Mm-hmm.
I love building things. I love making things. I worked construction for a lot of years, building custom homes.
Mm-hmm.
I make props and decorations for the holidays. I make leather armor for the Ren Fair.
Oh, that's cool.
I thoroughly enjoy creating something that I can step back and be proud of, and know that, it's kind of like the big stone giant from Neverending Story, these two hands, I love being able to be like, yeah, I these two hands made that, I built that. And so when I got into the hobby, from all of my leather working and the different things that I did, I looked at the Space Wolves and I'm like, okay, these guys need furs. They need furs. They need beards. They need, long hair. Why don't these models have all these things? Like
they need
should.
tankards.
They need tankards. They need, why not? Why don't these things have them? And so I wanted my army to have them. And so, the very first Warhammer model I built and painted was the Invicta Tactical Warsuit. I didn't start small. I went for the biggest thing in the combat patrol box.
Is that the dreadnought without the sarcophagus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not up on this new hammer lingo.
No, that's cool. Yeah. So I cut the legs and repositioned the legs so it looked like he was walking down off of a pile of rocks. I sculpted fur going all the way around the shoulders and on the back because, I didn't know about, like, nobody really had a lot of 3D print bits for Space Wolves here. Mm-hmm. Grey Tide Studios just had their Kickstarter for their stuff coming out, wasn't released yet. They were just getting going. Nobody else really had a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. You had to sculpt it all. You had to do it yourself. And so I'm like, I want this. So I just started making sculpting everything out of green stuff, doing all this stuff. And I had a blast with it. And then the world of 3D printing was unlocked for my eyes. Yes. And my brain, that's what my brain did. Like, I was like, boom, I can take the shoulders from this, and I can take arms from this guy, and I can take weapons from that guy, and I can sculpt, this tabard on this guy, and I can do this, and nobody can tell me no.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Nobody can tell you no. You can't put fur on that. Yeah, I can. You can't put that head on. Yeah, I can. That guy can't have.
You can't do this. Oh, hold my beer.
Yes, exactly. That's one thing in my life. Somebody says you can't do that. I'm gonna find a way. I will find a way. And and just that aspect of having that entire opportunity to take something and purely make it my own, and not have any, there's no boundaries on it. You just go and build it. And at the end of the day, the only person that you have to satisfy is the one that is sitting in the chair looking down at the model that you're building. Like, that's the only person that's got to be satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the person sitting next to you doesn't like it, I'm sorry you don't like it.
Go make your own.
Go make your own. Exactly. I love it. I'm super excited. And if it's, it's a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
What'd I do wrong? Well,
actually, since you said that, like, I'm going to say flat out, like, in the modern age, modern hammers, you guys are lucky that everything is plastic. Like, plastics like in old hammer days, plastics were like the bottom of the barrel as far as models went. Like, even the sneaky beakies, the RTB01s that I paint up, I had my last guest, he's like, you make them look absolutely beautiful. You had to create a bunch of, you basically had to paint on the detail. But going through the 90s into the 2000s, the majority of Games Workshop line was metal. Right. And kit bashing metal, cutting up metal. Oh, geez, it was a nightmare.
Terrible.
It was a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I remember doing that with some D&D minis back in the day. Like, oh, I want this weapon on this guy. And I'm like trying to cut these metal minis and get them to stay together and glue together. And yeah, we're lucky now. We're lucky that we have the plastic and we have.
Oh, and the plastic now, like the detail and just the level of detail that Games Workshop is getting into them is it's nuts. It's great. It's nothing like it was in the 80s and early in the 90s.
So yeah, and it's just the fact that it's yours. Make it yours. Yeah. It's your army. It's your paint scheme. It's like this is one of the things in life that's 100% your way. Or now, the highway.
Hold on. With kit bashing, like, do you have to, like, for you, like, especially for your army, since everything is so customized, do you have to when you write up your loadout, like, hypothetically, your guy has like Thor's hammer, right? Is it like writing up all your army gear? Are there people who gripe that, like, you've assigned this guy just a normal, like, I don't know, thunder hammer as opposed to this like god tier half axe half hammer that you've modeled onto him? Do people get particular about that kind of thing?
No, and that's like, I think a lot of people have told me that if you played in like a GW specific tournament, like they might say something because they want. It's just like when you enter in a lot of their paint things, you have to have like massive majority has to be the GW model. You can't really use 3D printed stuff and stuff like that, but. I've seen a lot of people kit bash a lot of stuff at LVO as long as you have the base model. As long as you have the base model. I've only had one person be like, well, that really isn't the model that it's supposed to be. And I'm like, well, all right, well, that's cool. That's
so
fine.
I'm assuming LVO is a little bit more liberal as to what you can do with your physical models.
As far as I know, it is.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't played, but as far as I know, they're a lot more open to you kit bashing your stuff as long as you have the base model of what it is, and you're, you can say, I have this, for example, my jump pack unit, my sergeant has a power fist and a plasma pistol. Yeah. Well, the actual model that I made, he does have a power fist, but he's got a shield in the other hand. But I make my models in a way that when I tell you this is my sergeant, this is this guy, I don't, there might be some people that are like, oh yeah, you didn't kill the guy that has the plasma pistol. It's this guy, type of thing, which it's really hard because you get to, when somebody attacks your unit and if they kill a model in that unit, you choose which model, unless they're actually attacking your character, you get to choose which model you take off the board.
Okay.
So, so you can say I kept the ones that had these weapons and stuff. So it's kind of an honor system with that type of stuff. But I haven't had anybody be like, you said every one of these guys has a thunder hammer, but not a single one of them is, like my Thunderwolf cavalry is a great example.
Those are the ones on the wolves.
On the wolves.
Okay.
The wolf riders. In the loadouts, all of my Thunderwolf cavalry have what's called an heirloom weapon. But there's not a specific thing that says this is the heirloom weapon.
Okay.
In the kits, I think most of them come with hammers or chain swords or something. I can't remember, but one of them have. One of my units all have axes. One of them all have hammers. One of them all have spears. They're all weapons, and they're their heirloom weapon. So you can't tell me it's not an heirloom weapon just because it didn't come with the kit.
Okay.
And everybody's like, I haven't found anybody who was like, no, you can't do that. They're all like, that's a sweet idea.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. Each one is its own unique unit because of the way you make it. And that's what the kit bashing thing for me is every unit is unique in its way. I try to pull like my jump pack intercessors. There's items in each one of them that are the exact same. Like all of them I added little studs to their right leg, to the greave, the shin guard. They all have the exact same shoulder on the right shoulder.
So basically to create uniformity.
Create uniformity in the unit. So if I have 2 units of intercessors on the table, which unit of intercessors goes with this guy and which unit goes with this guy.
Okay.
Because of the way that they're built.
Oh, that's really cool. So I think that's actually a good way to wrap up that segment. But there's I think one more thing I want to ask before we move into the Instagram thing is what advice would you give like novice painters who are just starting out to help them avoid the pitfalls that you've experienced?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. When I first started, I just watched videos. I was afraid to ask people because I didn't want people to think that I was unknowledgeable in what, because I was around a bunch of people that had been in the hobby for 20 plus years and around some extremely talented painters. I mean, one of my best friends is a Golden Demon winner, and
is that Ray?
It was,
Is that Ray?
Yeah. So it was a little intimidating, and so I didn't want to ask, hey, how do I paint this? How do I do this? Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to just open yourself up to the community, because the community is there to support you. That's one of the reasons I really pushed to get that hobby night started.
Yeah.
Was that opportunity to not just hang out with friends, but to be able to, how many ideas have we been sitting around and come up with at that hobby table that turned around, that 2 or 3 of us used that idea in our paint schemes or use that in a model or something like that.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity to not only throw ideas at each other and to help one another out, but for somebody new that's coming into the hobby, like the kid that I was helping with the plasma coils, very, very, very new to the hobby, very new.
Are you talking about that little 13-year-old kid who was using the Tetris paint?
No, not him. Which
I like that kid. I thought he was cool.
That kid's so fun. No, there's another kid that comes in, an older kid, that, a lot of times he would wait till I'd walk away and I was looking at stuff from the store, and he would come to me and be like, hey, I got a question for you, and so, so I'd help him out and stuff like that. But then I would go back to the table and I would help him out specifically at the table and explain things to him, because not to try and embarrass him and say, hey, look at this guy, doesn't know what he's talking about. But I'd also go back to the table and say, hey, Lennon, how did you do this? We're trying to figure out this on his model, or, hey, Ken, or hey, AJ, or, whoever that I know at the table is good at that aspect. And say, we were discussing this on his model and how he could best do this. How do you achieve it on your model?
Yeah.
And not only does that show him that, I want to learn more too, but not everybody knows everything and stuff like that. But it gets him engaged with more people at the table.
Yeah.
And now he's more comfortable asking questions. He'll sit down and he'll ask questions of anybody at the table now.
Yeah.
So, and it's opened up that aspect. And that was the thing that I was very afraid of at first. I want to learn a lot, but a lot of times I'm afraid to ask that question.
Well, yeah, you're helping. I think what you're expressing is you're actually encouraging confidence in the person into like, hey, engage with the other people at the table, and like everybody brings something cool here, and nobody's gonna bite your head off.
Right.
No, to comment on what you're talking about, like I really like the hobby night that you started. The 3 or 4 times I've come down, I've just really enjoyed being there with you guys, and just chatting it up, and we'll have entire conversations based on movie quotes.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
And you're creating a very positive environment for people who are into the hobby or getting into the hobby. And, everybody, actually, I think it was the second time I came down there, I was really surprised because, there was like the main table of like the 10 of us, and then the other tables around us, there was like another 10 or 15 people who were painting, and everyone just seemed to be, it was just this big community thing. And that's not easy to build and to encourage. And I think you're doing an excellent job of it. And I love just sitting down there and chatting with you, chatting with AJ, chatting with Ken, and whoever else comes down. It's really cool. It's like, okay, cool. We got like 15, 20 people here, and we all get to nerd out and, be dorks together.
Yeah.
And just over these silly army men we paint.
Yeah. Play with our little army men on the table and stuff. And like you said, you bring up, that young kid, that 13-year-old kid that's come in.
Has he been back?
2 or 3 times. He's been gone for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I know his mom said they had a bunch of stuff coming up and everything,
okay.
But I've had a couple times where his parents have pulled me aside and said, hey, thank you to all of you guys, because this is like a highlight of his week.
Yeah.
He can't wait for Monday night to get down here because, like, we know his paint isn't the greatest. It's very rough. It's very he's very fast. He just wants to get it all done as fun. But every person at the table takes a moment to one-on-one be like, what have you got new this week?
Mm-hmm.
What are you building? What are you working on? Everybody takes that opportunity to make him feel like he's the most important person in the world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter any of our skill level or, and that's the thing about this hobby and this community is every time you talk to somebody, that person, I feel like, tries to make you feel like you're the most important person in their conversation at that moment, and takes that opportunity to help you understand whether it's rules in the game or a paint scheme or a technique or just anything. Like taking that opportunity to make others feel like that's part of being a human. Yeah. And being a good human is treating other people like, I want to be the most important person in somebody's conversation once in a while. So the only way I'm going to get that is if I make that person the most important person in the conversation once in a while. There was
like with the night I was there when he was there, it was actually really cool, like seeing him come out of his shell and just really engaging with everybody at the table. Like, he was big on talking to you. He was big on talking to AJ. He was big on talking to Ken. I think he was a little intimidated by me, but he talked to me a little bit. But it was so neat just seeing him like try to dive in with the rest of the guys and like bust balls and talk about experiences in his own life. And it was like, kiddo, you're doing an awesome job. Like the hobby isn't just about what you paint. Like the people that you hang around with, the friends that you make, the people that encourage you, like you're doing a great job. And you know, like for a 13-year-old kid to be hanging around with a bunch of his old nuts, and just hearing him, like make his own movie quotes or tell stories that, like from his school, or, like bust Ken's balls. It was so fun, and it was so encouraging to see him do this. It was like, no, I think we've got something good going with this kid. Like, I think we're encouraging something in him that he needed and didn't quite know how to find anywhere else. And now that he's around these hobby nuts, he's kind of found his people. Right.
Well, and it's like, even his mom, the one night she showed up to hobby night and was like, brought some Legos to build. Like she said it's expanded more to the entire family is wanting to get more involved in doing things.
Yeah.
And creating more things. His sister wanted to paint something. His dad's got way into the 3D printing side of things because his son's like, Dad, I want this and I want this and I want this. But his mom's like, is it okay if I build some Legos? That's not painting. I'm like, this isn't paint night. It's hobby night.
Yeah.
It's whatever hobby you want to bring and work on. You want to draw, you want to build Legos, you want to paint, whatever. Just, it's a hobby night. It's an opportunity for us to build on all hobbies.
We've talked a lot about hobby night, and because this is kind of a specialized situation, one of the questions I wanted to ask was, what encouraged you to actually start hobby night at War Room?
Well, they had the hobby space set up, those tables that are back there. They set those up not too long before we got it going. And, people would come and, they had some space where you could repair your model or whatever, but people would come and just sit and hang out. And so I started talking to him about it, that it'd be cool just to do a night where throw a movie on and just get people there, getting people into the store, getting more people hobbying, and introducing more people. Because, you meet a lot of people as you're playing and stuff like that, but you just get the game aspect of it. And I wanted more of it. And they were on board with it, like the initial idea. It just took quite a while to actually get it going.
Yeah.
It took us probably 2 or 3 months before I finally was like, all right, pick a day. I just had and Mondays seemed to be the least amount of stuff going on. So I said, what about Monday nights? And I said, done. I'll make it work. And so, and so that just kind of what got it started. We really got it going right around a little bit before Halloween. So we kicked it off with some Halloween movies each week. We'll do a couple different movies and stuff, try to do a theme. And so it was an opportunity for not just, it was an opportunity for me to do hobbying with other people. Because I live so far away from War Room. On the other side of town, I didn't get that opportunity to get down there and hang out with people very much and do the hobby aspect of things.
Yeah.
And I wanted to. And so I'm like, well, if I set aside a night, that this is the night, and I just go down there. And I just started going down one night and I just hang out, 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours, and just paint whatever it was. And then when we got that hobby night, it was like an opportunity to get more people into the hobby and stuff, and into being there. And I got the John and Matt and those guys to start, telling people when they came in buying new kits. Hey, if you ever want to come and hang out with us every Monday night, we'll be over here hobbying and stuff like that, watching movies and hobbying and stuff. And it definitely has grown a lot faster than I thought it would.
Yeah.
And it's grown into more than I thought it would, which is great. It's always nice when you get this idea in your head and it becomes really successful. And it has been really successful, I think, in getting people, you get certain people that I don't think would ever really leave their house to interact with other people. You weren't the one I was thinking of, but but it gives people like that an opportunity to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Me as well, like my wife jokes that she's like, for as much as you just hate people and they annoy you, she's like, I can't take you anywhere and you make a new friend.
I think the quote you're looking for is other people are hell.
Yeah. You know, it's like, she's like, you go anywhere and you'll just start talking to some random person.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes later, you guys are best friends, you know? And it was fun. It was something that I really thought would be a good idea. It would really, it's helped the store, because every time that we host hobby night, that ends new hobby night, people are picking up more models or more paints or basing materials, or, you know, all these different things. So it's great for the store, and it's getting more people into the store for these hobby nights and stuff, as well as getting more people that are going to have painted armies that want to put them on the tables and learn to play the game as well. So it's helping two different aspects of the hobby. And even a couple of people that I know that have played there forever that never painted their armies, like, are painting their armies.
Yeah.
Because of it. And so it's become just a fun little social gathering of, you know, nerds and having fun, being able to be yourself in an environment that you will not be judged for being you.
Well, I will say one thing in my own personal experience with it is I'd pop into War Room to pick up, you know, paints and stuff like that, and I'd always kind of meander toward the painting table. And it was rare that anybody was ever sitting there painting and doing their thing, you know, modeling and hobbying. And it's to me, it's really nice that you've set this thing up for the community who, you know, like, want to learn more about the hobby, want to learn more about painting. And also for guys like me, like with me being autistic, I'm a very special flavor of cheese. You don't put me on every cracker, but it's been nice actually being able to connect to other painters in the community, to people who are into the painting aspect, and just to have like this nice little thing every Monday night where it's like, go down, show up, you know, we chat. The biggest thing for me is like, people remembered my name. Like, big shout outs to AJ. Like, you're one of the first guys that said, hey, outside of you, Chris, outside of Chris, that said, oh, hey, Lennon, it's nice to see you. And I'm like, wow, people actually remember who I was. Like, I guess I'm not that big of a jerk.
Yeah.
And no, it's just it's a great little community and thing you've set up. It's really encouraging. It's really uplifting. It's just it's nice to see new faces there. That 13-year-old kid we were talking about earlier. I mean, I think with what you set up, you've made a huge impact on his life just through something simple. And the encouragement that you give other people when they ask you questions, I mean, that's a huge thing. And, you know, you explaining your backstory to me a little bit, that you've been coaching, like, now I actually understand and see that experience coming forth in what you're putting together and what you're doing with people. Like, people have mentioned with my podcast that I've done, this is only my, I think, 3rd episode. People are like, oh my God, that looks so professional. You know, you everything looks so good. It's great to watch and listen to. The audio sounds good. And I was explaining to a couple of people, well, this is like a culmination of what I've been doing for the last like 25, 30 years of my life. Graphic design, audio production, video work, networking, hustling with my own business, stuff like that, and learning how to talk to people. So to me, it's really cool to see somebody else like yourself who has taken this knowledge that he's accumulated through his years of experience and putting it forward to build a community, to build an experience that brings people in, that builds them up, that encourages them, that really pushes positivity, and people want to come back to an experience, and they also want to tell their friends about. And you're also helping, you know, our local shop do better in their own thing, because people are coming in, experiencing War Room. You know, they meander over to the paint area, they pick up new paints, they pick up Wargrass stuff, they pick up new Warhammer models, and overall what you've built, just, I mean, it benefits everyone in such a positive way.
One of the coolest things about it that I found is the willingness to share that everybody's had.
Yes.
Like, you go in there now and you look at against the wall, and there's almost 2 full paint racks of paints against the wall. Like, somebody had an extra couple of paint racks, so they donated them. People bring in extra paints. Mm-hmm. AJ brought that young kid, like, because he was using just testers, his little testers model paint from his dad, you know, and now the kid's got man, he's got a bigger Citadel paint collection than I do.
Oh, I was there the night he gave him the paints. I mean, just like that kid was about to cry.
Yeah, and so the openness that people have in the community and stuff, but we've got clippers and glues and paints and brushes and all these these tools that you need for the hobby that are all on the table now.
Yeah.
That anybody can use. They're open for anybody, and that's another thing that I've been trying to expand on, reaching out to companies like AK and ProAcryl and Gamers Grass and some of these different companies to say, hey, we're hosting this event every Monday night and it's getting good. We're getting a lot of positive feedback from it. Would you be interested in partnering up with us with this? Like, I know you've got this coming out, or you have this coming out, or you've got these type of, you show people do all this stuff at these expos and these conventions. Would you be willing to send us some of your, like the Gamers Grass, their little kits that have everything in it to do some bases? Would you send us 2 or 3 of those kits that we can put these out on, hey, this week hobby night, we're going to do basing, we're going to let everybody play with new basing materials.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that really is an aspect that a lot of people are afraid of. Make it, because your base tells such a story, not just the model. What battlefield is your army on? Yep. That's your base. And so these opportunities to have, AK sent me a bunch of their paint markers, those new, like the paint chip markers and the edge ones and stuff like that, so that we could have those at hobby night for people just to try out and use. Yeah. A company that does 3D printed paint handles, they gave me 2 full sets of their entire run.
Oh, you were talking about that on your stream the other night.
Yeah, that I bring every week to hobby night, and I should just leave them all there on the table. I just keep forgetting because I have them in my bag, and then if anybody wants them, and I think if they were out on the table, people would be using them even more. But they gave us this to use for hobby night.
I have a funny story. Like it popped into my head, and I laugh about it every time I think of it. I think the first night I came down, you were kit bashing something, and you snipped it off the sprue and went shooting across the table, and you're like, "Well, it belongs to the table now."
Yep, it's the tables now. I've got a couple bits on a couple kit bash models that are just random bits I found on the table, and I'm like,
nice.
Yo, is this anybody's? And they're like, no. I'm like, sweet, I'm using it.
I think I found like I found like a skull and like a thing of a weapons or like a ammo belt like hanging around under the table. I'm like, anybody using this? Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, the table doth provide. So,
Chris, is this yours? Nope. Okay, I'm taking it.
So I'd really like to get more of these companies like that, to jump on board with stuff like this, because I think this is an opportunity to do more in the communities and stuff like that. I am planning on moving in about 1.5 years, and so I'll be 9 hours away from Vegas now. But I'm establishing this hobby night with people like you and AJ and Jordan and Ken that, once I step away from it, this is going to continue. This whole thing is going to continue, and it's going to keep growing and getting better. Where are you
moving to?
I'm moving up to Idaho.
Oh, man.
So that's where I'm from, and I just want to go back home. So, but I've already reached out to one of the game stores up there that I'll be near and say, hey, I've got this going down here. It's something I started. When I move up there, I'd like to do it there. It'd be something I'd like to start something there. And, and it'd be really cool to say, I'm coming in, I've got these partners like Monument and AK Interactive and Gamers Grass and, whoever else we can get on board for this. To say, we're going to do these hobby nights, and we've got these companies that are willing to give us these things to try out and demo and play with and try new things out and learn new things and grow it there as well. And maybe get this to be something that's hey, let's do, Monday night hobby night. across the country. You know, every Monday night, everybody's getting at their local game store, and we're doing a hobby night.
Dude, I'm gonna have to bug Ray until like I just got this stupid idea. I'm gonna bug Ray into doing it. I have a printer I can do it through, but I think I'm gonna have to take like a picture of Titus the miniature and Photoshop a bunch of Space Wolf on stuff onto him, and then put your head where Titus's head was, and then put like a placard at the bottom, the founder, and
there.
like we'll put it as a giant wall wrap in the shop.
I'm down. So, but no, this is like, it's something that I think would be very beneficial, that, you know, and just, it grows the community, you know, and you make new friends.
Yeah.
Like, you know, meeting you and meeting Ken and AJ and Jordan and Hyro and Omar and, you know, all these, I mean, I can't even think of all the other people that we've had there come and go and stuff like that in these nights. And it's people that now that, you know, I could contact and be like, yo, you know, like we were talking the other night, like, dude, let's just get together and paint one night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's just hang out, paint, pick each other's brains. You know? And it's more opportunities like this. And I think if we were able to create this big event type of thing, or maybe it's a once a month thing that hobby stores across the country host a Monday night hobby night.
Oh, you better come back down to Vegas and hang out, dude.
Oh, I'll definitely I'll be back for LVO every year. I still got, you know, for the time being, my wife will still have family here. I've still got tons of friends here and stuff like that. So we'll definitely be back.
I need my spooning time with Chris.
You got it, buddy.
So I'm going to pull up Chris's Instagram so we can dig through it and talk about some of his models. He actually just finished up a Ragnar that I've been dying to talk to him about. So let's go over to the Instagram feed. And here is his Instagram. And I tuned into his Twitch painting thing the other night when he was working on Ragnar here. And I've really been excited to see this model done, because I think this is one of the first ones you've airbrushed.
Yeah. It's pretty much, the armor is mostly airbrushed.
Okay. So, yeah, like the biggest thing you were talking about, I think when I was listening to the show, was you were talking about doing the frost fang on his chainsword. And, you were like, you didn't want to do it in black. You were talking about doing it like blue or white or something like that. And, yeah, so I mean, go nuts. Talk about this guy. I really want to hear about your whole thing with your Ragnar model, because this thing turned out absolutely great.
Oh, thank you. It was definitely a lot of fun. It was some new techniques that I was trying and stuff. I typically don't build in subassembly or paint in subassembly at all. But I did a little bit on this one just because I wanted to try some new stuff with the airbrush on the armor, on the fur, some different aspects like that, which I couldn't really do having it all together. But I pretty much just did it. It was just the main body and everything, the backpack and the head. That was about all that was separate. So I didn't do too much. I
actually just noticed one thing about him. Like, I didn't know that Games Workshop actually put Frostfang on both sides of the sword.
Yeah, it's on both sides. And that was like one of like, I love like doing the weapons with the glowing runes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it with the blue that I've done on some of the others, but I just felt like if I went with the blue glow on Frostfang with in the letters, it would have overpowered the yellow. And I really love the yellow of that sword. And the look of Frostfang. It's such an iconic sword. It's such a important sword in the lore. And when it was given to him, I was like, I don't want to take away too much. So I just want it to be, when you look at it, you can see, hey, it says Frostfang on there and stuff. I might darken it just a hair. But other than that, it was just one of those things that I was like, I just want it to be there.
No, the funny thing about Ragnar is like, so his original model was technically the Layman Russ from a Rogue Trader, because they didn't have Primarch rules back then. And if you look at Layman Russ from Rogue Trader, he became Ragnar Blackmane in 2nd edition. I forgot what, I painted it and I forgot what it says, but like Layman Russ's original chainsword, it had a name, and then it just kind of translated over to like, oh, we're gonna make Ragnar Blackmane. We're gonna give him like a cool looking power chain sword this time. It's got chains on both sides.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say, like we were talking about earlier before we did the show, was I like how Games Workshop has actually made Frostfang, like they actually sculpted it into the sword as opposed to having to freehand it.
Right.
Honestly, in my older age, I don't know if I could do that anymore. I did it with Layman Russ's sword, and it took me, I think, 2.5 hours.
Right.
But it's actually really convenient that it's like embedded in the plastic now on both sides. So with what you were doing with the glow on it and stuff, you actually have a lot more options of ease of life kind of access to it.
Right.
But no, so like with this Ragnar, you airbrushed him. What did you actually run AK through it, or did you run ProAcryl?
A combination of both. So I think I began with ProAcryl. I went through a couple layers of ProAcryl, then I moved over to an AK, then went back to a ProAcryl. So I think there was 5 different blues I used in the process.
Oh wow! Did you airbrush his wolf pelt?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I was looking. I was like, that's got to be airbrushed. It's like really, really smooth.
Yeah, I did that. So I started with, and that was mostly actually that was all ProAcryl on the wolf pelt. I did their, I think I did. It was their bright warm gray or neutral gray.
Mm-hmm.
I just brushed into all the fur, got it all in there, and then I just took their mixed the bright neutral gray with their dark warm gray. Mm-hmm. And then did the first layer down the middle, and then start feathering it out. Then just straight the dark warm gray, and then black.
Oh, got it.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, actually, I think you mentioned to me you didn't actually do a whole lot of kit bashing on him, but I like the fact that you gave him back his bolt pistol.
Yeah, I didn't like the open hand.
No, to me that's silly.
I did not like that open hand. I had that bolt pistol from another Space Wolf kit. It's got a wolf on the back side of it. I was going to redo his hair. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of that top knot.
He's had that since 2nd edition.
Yeah, it's so iconic. Like I was like looking at pictures of him and stuff because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I'm like, yeah, I can't get rid of the top knot. It's just
in my silly little world, in the Old Hammer world, he's blonde. That's the way Mike McVeigh painted him. He's blonde. Yeah,
I thought about it. I thought about doing the blonde, but I went with the black, feeding on both the black mane, mm-hmm. even though the black mane name comes from the wolf itself, not from his hair. But I'm like, we'll go with it.
I can't believe I was the only one in your Twitch chat who actually got that question right.
Yep, you were the only one that knew what it was.
Actually, with just really letting it sink in, like overall with you adding the bolt pistol, it adds like such a better dynamic to the entire model.
I thought so too. Like
I'm not a huge fan of his current sculpt, but this makes it look way cooler.
Like if they would have done the hand like he was pointing at something, mm-hmm. but it looked like he was reaching for something, and so I'm like, oh no. He's putting something down.
He's reaching for his tankard.
Yeah.
No, to me, like, I think just kind of like with Ragnar, because I've seen him in his same stance for so long. I mean, it took Games Workshop forever to resculpt this model. I got so used to the stance of him just standing there with his sword and his bolt pistol. Like, to me, it's just kind of like, I want a Ragnar who's just standing there, like, just more updated, a little bit more menacing looking, just kind of like, come get some.
Yeah.
Because
I'd like to see him with his wolves.
Yeah. And the fact that, I mean, Ragnar, in one of the stories, like Ragnar literally jumped on a Carnifex and stabbed it in the face with his chainsword. It's just kind of like, yeah, he's either the come get some pose or the like, I'm going to menace you to doom pose.
I've had 2 or 3 people be like, he doesn't have a yellow shoulder pad.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, none of my Space Wolves do. That's
hang on. I need to look. Hang on. Oh, I'm looking at my Ragnar, the second one I painted. No, his right shoulder pad is covered up by a wolf pelt, and then his left shoulder pad has a wolf's head carved on it. I will try to get this. So that's the original Ragnar model.
Yeah.
From second edition all the way up until, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. So we didn't have all these technical details that people could nitpick.
Yeah, everybody's like, his left shoulder is supposed to be yellow. That's the Space Wolf. I'm like, well, not my army. My army is all like, the shoulders on all of my army are red and black.
Well, the funny thing is, like, so it like the lore around Space Wolves is a little screwy because you've got the left shoulder pad that's supposed to be yellow, but the Space Wolves have a standard chapter icon, which is the black wolf they use now. But the different wolf companies under different wolf lords have a different left shoulder pad icon.
Right.
And that's actually kind of what I'm debating about right now with the Logan Grimnar that I'm painting up, is like, I'm pretty much, I think I'm just going to do his left shoulder pad yellow with the black wolf, but the black wolf is supposed to be Ragnar's company, but the black wolf is the Space Wolf chapter badge.
Yeah. Grimnar's is, his specific one is isn't the wolf howling at the moon?
No, it's the Great Wolf. It's actually what Games Workshop used to use on, I think, the leg of
Bjorn.
Bjorn,
the twin wolf.
No, it's just a single wolf. I don't have an easy reference picture for it right now, but
yeah, I wanted something specific.
Oh, okay. They actually gave him the proper left shoulder pad.
Yeah, they got the proper left shoulder on there. I just wanted something a little bit more specific for my army. So all of my army has a red shoulder with the black wolf on it.
Well, and as you said earlier, do what's fun, do what makes you happy, do what, with your army that you're painting. You don't have to follow Games Workshop scripture. Just
right.
do what makes you happy with your painting. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the shoulder pad. Oh, it's supposed to be yellow. Yours can be yellow. Mine's going to be red. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Moving on to another one. Oh, yeah, your box of skulls giveaway. That's honestly the best thing that Games Workshop has ever brought out.
Yeah,
it's so handy.
What's fun is the guy that won that, his son and his son's best friend are getting heavily into 40K. So they'll be able to use a lot of skulls for a lot of things.
Box O skulls. Yeah, okay, so this is one thing I definitely wanted to get into was your jump pack Marines, your blood claws. Like what you did with these things was just, absolutely, it's so cool.
Oh, thank you. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah, the smoke coming out of the jump packs, that is so damn cool. And you being the kit bashing king, you went full ham on this guy.
Oh yeah. I think from the original model, it's just the body. Maybe the arms. I think I used the arms on each of them and the body, and but everything else is either from another wolf kit, a 3D print bit, or hand sculpted.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming the head is the 3D print.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's from the old. Which kit was it? The old. I can't remember which one, but it's an old Space Wolf head. Like
4th edition through like 8th edition. I've actually got a box of those I picked up at LVO. I was never, when Games Workshop started getting really technical with Mark 7 armor, like carving all kinds of extra stuff into the armor plates, it just, I don't know, it kind of irritated me because it was so different. It was, I don't know, so much more annoyingly detailed than what I grew up with in 2nd edition. But yeah, I've actually been looking forward to painting a couple of those. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a cue from Chris and probably like do some really custom stuff with these things to make them just really neat. And by the way, one thing I absolutely adore about this model is the glowing runes you have on a sword.
Yeah.
Those things just, they stand out so much. That is really cool. Oh, actually, both swords. I'm sorry, I didn't see the side view.
Yeah,
Yeah, both swords. And then
same.
you got the runes glowing on his bolt pistol.
Yeah, that bolt pistol is actually the bolt pistol from the 30K model Grigor Failhand.
Oh, yeah, the character model?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to paint him up. I was just like, I don't know if my painting style will work on this guy or not. These things are so cool. And
in fact, I think that was his. In fact, I think that was his head too.
Oh, really?
I think so. If I remember right, that might be the Grigor Failhand head as well.
And these the jump pack, that's all 3D printed.
Yeah. I can't remember where the jump packs are actually from, but the smoke is from Deadly Print Studios.
Oh, okay. And I'm assuming you got ready to print those things.
The backpacks he did. Another buddy did the smoke.
Oh, okay.
I've got like 4 different printers that I use.
Oh, nice.
People that I use and stuff. So it just depends on what I've got going on. Some of them do a better job at one thing than another thing. So
I friggin' like this. I use this for your cover picture on the video. I love his head. It's so like Punisher looking.
I'm a big fan of Punisher, okay. Casey Jones, and
Casey Jones.
Reaper,
yes,
and Reaper from Overwatch. So it's kind of a combination of all 3.
Yeah, this when I was cutting this guy out, I was like really just kind of admiring. Like I was tracing him out with a pen tool to get rid of the background in Photoshop, and just admiring all the stuff that you put on here. I really like the teeth and the fangs that you have hanging off the jump pack here.
Mm.
Oh, I keep forgetting you can't see my mouse cursor.
Like all sculpted.
What's that?
The bandolier is like another one of those things that I had one bit of a bullet belt from another model.
Uh-huh.
So I stuck it on there, and then I just sculpted the rest of the bandolier.
Oh, okay.
To match it.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's got so much going on. This is so cool. I love how menacing he looks, just like both guns pulled and like his Casey Jones looking mask and face and his braids going on.
Yeah.
And I love it's actually kind of cool to see like all these jump packs. Like there are no tactical rocks to be found.
None. Oh, that one was hard. That was
the one that you sent me that you were working on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one the axe is 4 different axes.
Oh, wow.
That have been put together. And then I had to cut each arm into like 3 or 4 different pieces to get those arms posed exactly where I wanted them to be for that.
Actually, one thing that I really dig about this model is the sheer amount of motion that you see from the miniature itself because of the way the jump pack is expelling exhaust. Like he's like moving like straight forward, and he's gonna bang you in the head with that axe.
It's coming right at you.
Yeah, that is just super cool. That's one thing you don't like. Well, most people they don't do the smoke thing coming out of the jump packs or the fire and whatnot. So they're usually posed on like a rock or a piece of terrain or something like that. Whereas like what you've got going on here with the exhaust coming out of his jump pack really does emphasize that it's like the direct motion of what he's doing. That's so cool. And it's got like I like his helmet. It's got like Predator vibes.
Yeah.
What else are we gonna deep dive through? Oh, here's a good example of the shields. And I like instead of the power claws, he's got the bone claws going on.
It's actually a demon skull from that skull box.
Oh.
Like you can't see the skull very well because it's underneath some like straps that I sculpted onto there to make it look like it was just strapped onto the fist. You can kind of see him in that one on that far side. But yeah, it's the full skull on top of the back of the hand.
Is I'm assuming that shield, is that a 3D print?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So like in your little world with all the shields, like are they actual wood or are they like futuristic wood that has like ceramite built into it?
It would probably be a little bit more futuristic, so it's a little more durable.
Okay.
I am working on a kit bash of Murder Fang and a Brutalis Dreadnought. And the shield that I'm putting on that one actually is much more wooden Viking shield looking. Like it's because I wanted it to be something super old. So it's not more of the modern shield that they're making with ceramite. It's a very old shield.
That thing I actually really dig about this shield, like overall, is like it's almost like something you'd see hanging in the Great Hall in the in the Fang. Yeah, thank you. I keep forgetting what the Space Wolf Fortress is called. Yeah, I mean you could almost kind of see that like hanging right over like where Grimnar sits.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one I definitely wanted to talk about. Where is it? There we go. This guy. When I was cutting this guy out, this guy is so cool.
So what I do every once in a while on my stream is I'll do a giveaway, and the winner gets to pick a captain model from their army, and then I paint it and kit bash it.
Okay.
So this one, he chose Grimnir, and I don't know what the little drone things are called for him, but they had these little clear plastic loopy things that went into their backs into the base, which were stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I want these guys floating on lightning. And then I'm like, you know what? I could do it underneath all of the rocks as well for him. So I cut up his base into pieces so that the rocks were floating in different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically walking up all these floating rocks as he's coming forward.
Yeah, I really like the basing is just awesome, but also like I think the base is super cool with the lightning effect, but I also really dig like the volumetric lighting you have going on with like the blue showing on the base and then the blue on his hands and also kind of coming off onto his hood a little bit.
Yeah.
This whole setup, when I was cutting it out, I was like, this is such a cool conversion, however he did it. This is really neat.
It's a lot of fun because when I do those giveaways, basically they'll say, I'll let them say, hey, what's the paint scheme of your army, you know? And I let them know, like, I'll follow it, but in a very loose way because it's a captain, it's a character. I want it to be unique. I want it to, that's why I like to do my characters and my captains. I want them to stand out, but it gives me the opportunity to really take, like his army was a lot more muted greens and grays.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used the blue gray in the hood and the cape, and then a little bit, more of a green into that. But I was like, I'm going to bring the purple into it because I thought the purple really tied the blue and the green together really well.
Well, no, you've got like a really cool thing going on here with contrast and colors. And I mean, technically purple it's not technically a contrasting color to green, but it is because it's a blue and a red. It's kind of like off to the side of contrasting colors, but it works really well because you've got the green of his cloaks and what he's wearing. You've got the purple of the trim, which is a contrasting color to green, and then you have the reds and the oranges in his beard, which are completely complementary colors to green. And then you have, to go with your oranges, you've got hints of gold and silver going on to the rest of the model. And then you carried some of the blue from his base up into his jewel here, I keep forgetting you can't see my mouse pointer. You carry the blue up into the jewel, and you've also got blue on his hood. Yeah. And then the backside, where's the backside of the model? And then the backside of the model, you've got the blue all over the cloak on the back. It's just, I mean, you've got like this really good balance of contrasting / complementary colors going on where nothing really overpowers anything else. And then you've got the two droids on the side of him, which you can tell are tied into him because you use the same greens throughout the model plus the golds.
Yeah.
And everything just turned out excellent on these things.
Yeah, he was a little bit tougher to try and come up with like crazy kit bash stuff. Mm-hmm. The first one I did like that, I did a Lord of Virulence for the Death Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And that one I actually did quite a bit of conversion stuff on him, sculpting corpse fly legs coming up out of his back and around his body, cut off part of that herniated distended stomach. I cut that off and added a belt buckle and cod piece with a bundle of trophy heads. And then I thought he looked like the Mondo Shawans from Fifth Element, the big aliens. So actually that on that one, I actually sculpted the face part of the mask.
Careful, Chris, you're showing our age.
That's all right. It's one of my favorite movies. I don't care.
Oh, that movie was for the 90s. That movie was awesome.
Yeah. So that one, that was the Lord of Virulence was the first one that I did, as a giveaway.
Uh-huh. Do you have a picture of him on here?
Yeah, there should be one. It might be down there a little ways.
I friggin' love that movie.
Yeah, those are like a bunch of our announcements for, hobby night and stuff like that, and our paint challenges that we host and everything. And you can see I'm way into Halloween.
Yeah, I noticed that. Your Halloween display is actually really cool.
Should be getting right there.
This guy.
The one in the middle, yeah. The one in the middle is a better one. It's kind of a rotating view of it and stuff like that.
I kind of try to avoid video just because I like doing static pictures. So in case there's something we land on, it's not constantly rotating. You can actually talk about directly what it is. But no, wow, this thing's cool. Nurgle is actually like one of my favorite Chaos factions. Like Nurgle and Night Lords are my two favorites. Oh, that's
so you see. Yeah, so where that pus sac is at the top of the purple, where the legs come in, that's all. I sculpted all that to match the pustules all over the shoulders and everything like that. So they were growing. And then I had to cut the legs at each joint to re-sculpt them so it actually came around his body and everything, and then re-sculpted all the joint sections and stuff.
God, you really are the kit bashing king.
It's just fun. It's just, I don't know, the freedom of it and stuff, that you could. I did one for a buddy of mine that plays Custodes.
Uh-huh.
That I took one of his bike captains and made it a space wolf.
Oh, nice.
And that one does have a tankard. He's got a big old fat tankard and he's riding into battle. He's got a lightning claw with a big old ale tankard on it on his bike.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's impressive, and I really like his base too. I dig like how I really like how you started from the top of him with his eyeballs, and you kind of started like with his shoulder pad where the split is, and then going into his power fist, and then coming down through the tubes or like the purple tubing on his body all the way down to the base. You carry this like neon green theme going downwards. So not like eye flow wise, not only do you want to look at the centralized model, but you're directing eye flow down to also checking out the base and showing this guy is like, just absolutely a Nurgle, pus-filled, gross, oozing thing. Adjectives.
Lots of them.
Yeah. And I also, I dig how like, you've got the purple tubes on his power fist, but also like when you get around to the back of the model, you've got the purple pink tentacle almost. I mean, this almost looks like Tyranid skin mixed with like Nurgle tubing coming off the back of him. And then the normal, silver and copper rust stuff going all over the place. No, I just overall, and this was a giveaway?
Yeah.
Holy crap. I'm sitting here talking about giveaways. Like I'm still like half the stuff I'm starting to paint I give to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, that frog pope that I picked up at LVO, I showed it to her at the booth, and she's like, "Oh my god, I want that!" I'm like, "Okay, I guess it's going to you."
Yeah, I love that model. That was a cool model. Yeah, I'll just so they get to pick the captain model, and then I get free run on it though.
Oh, you know what? You were talking about something on the stream the night that I was today's Thursday. It was on Tuesday. You were talking about doing some kind of raffle where somebody would have to paint up something from somebody else's army, so they have kind of like a special thing on the table.
So what I try to do like every couple months. We did one in October for Halloween and for Orktober. And then we did one at Christmas time, and then we do paint challenges. And I mean, they're basically paint contests, but I like to call them paint challenges because I want people to challenge themselves with something new when they do it. Like the Christmas one, I was working with all the fluorescents. The Halloween one, I was working on red flesh, which I was not comfortable doing at all. And so I want people to challenge.
That's the squig on the gobo on the squig.
Yeah. So we're doing one coming up for that will start at the beginning of April and go through to the beginning of May.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be a Star Wars themed one.
Oh, neat.
And so the prizes though that we're going to have are going to be like the Shatterpoint core rule or the core box, the starter box is going to be first place, and then second and third are going to be some of the smaller army boxes, the smaller 4 to 6 man unit expansion boxes. On stream, I'm going to paint all of the models for the core box. So the winner is going to get a fully painted, ready to table box, starter box.
Oh, that's cool.
And then what I'm going to do with the other boxes is I'm actually going to take those to Hobby Night and let members of Hobby Night pick a model and paint it at Hobby Night. And then we'll put them back in the box and give those away to somebody for second and third place. They'll get those boxes. So not only will the winner have custom painted models, but it allows all of the people at Hobby Night an opportunity to have a custom painted model in somebody else's army. Like, how cool is that? You'd be like, yeah, I have a model in somebody else. I painted somebody else's army, a model in their army and stuff like that. So, and then the other guy gets to say, yeah, I have a custom painted army from this group of painters at War Room Games at Hobby Night.
That is very cool. That is such a unique thing.
So yeah, so I'll be bringing those at the beginning of April. I'll be bringing those boxes to Hobby Night.
Okay. And
then everybody that's there throughout the month, you don't have to paint it all in one night. We can do it. You can work on it at Hobby Night all through the month, but we'll take pictures and stuff of everybody working on them and stuff. Anybody that wants to paint a model will be able to paint a model that will go into somebody else's army.
That is very cool. That is such a great idea. It's I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate that. That is such a great idea. Yeah. I wanted to bring this guy up. You didn't have any file and pictures of him. I think I remember when you were building him, you brought him to the shop, and unfortunately, you dropped him.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Am I supposed to talk about that?
He's done now. He's done now. I guess I just didn't put any pictures up of him. That's the new. So the base of that model is the new Lamarte's Blood Angel Chaplain model. And so I just loved the pose. I loved the model. And so that became my jump pack chaplain.
Yeah, I really like how dynamic he is in his pose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool literally kind of like the Ragnar pose I'd like to see, like, come get some.
Right. Yeah, it's such a fun pose and everything. And it was a lot harder to base than I thought it was, because the pose really didn't lend itself to a good pose with any of the smoke. Like, it just didn't look right on any of the jump pack smokes like the other guys, because of the way that the pose was. He needed to be on the ground challenging.
Yeah.
And so on the original model, the way the base is, he's leaning forward just a little bit. So creating the rocks and everything like that were going to go underneath of him was actually a pretty big challenge to get in position just right to keep that look of the pose and the fierceness of it, and still keeping it to look like a good base.
Yeah, I think Pepper bought me. She bought me the Blood Angel version, or just the original version, as a stocking stuffer, and I've been dying to paint it, but I'm gonna bug everybody and paint them in red, because in the Rogue Trader era, you didn't have to paint your librarians or is he a librarian? Chaplain. You didn't have to paint your chaplains in black, and you didn't have to paint chaplains and librarians in black or blue. You could paint them chapter colors. So
yeah, I wanted to do him with the wolf skull with the red stripe.
Did you sculpt that, or is that 3D printed?
It's 3D printed.
Okay.
But it's based off of the Death Sworn cult of Mordecai from 30K.
Oh, okay.
Space Wolves.
Yeah, there's so much lore now that I've tried to catch up on a lot of like the newer style stuff and like the lore and whatnot via like reading the Black Library, but there's so much stuff they've come up with where I'm just like, I'm gonna go sit in a corner. I'm gonna get yelled at because I don't know half the stuff.
I've just been turning on, like, there's different like lore people on YouTube and then books and stuff like that. I'll just turn something on and while I'm painting if I'm not streaming.
So and the last one I want to bring up, this is yours, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this little guy because I thought, like, I didn't get to do the Orktober challenge that you guys did. I had to sacrifice it because I had to finish up what I was doing for, I think, Darren Latham's challenge, and then starting Pepper's diorama for her Christmas present. But yeah, this was such a great little model, and I mean, your diorama of it is just, it's so friggin' cool. Like, I love all the little gravestones, like everything you did with making the squig look like a jack-o'-lantern and doing the orc and doing the gobo in red.
Well, that's it. So the original 3D model of that's how the guy designed it, was with the Jacko Squig. Okay. We started calling him. And it was cool because I actually reached out to the artist and said, hey, I'm going to be hosting this paint challenge. And I just wanted you to know that, people are paying for the model, but they're not buying. I'm not making money off of it. They're just paying for the print and the shipping to get it to them. And that's it. And I just wanted him to know that I wasn't trying to make money off of his model, but that we were hosting this paint challenge and everything like that. And he had reached out back to me like pretty quick and was super excited about it, that we were going to use his model, and actually joined our Discord community. He started following all of us on Instagram. Even because when we do our paint challenges, their community voted for the winners. I don't pick judges to do it. I let the community vote for him. So he even jumped in and voted on it, on the different ones and stuff. And the original model didn't have a base at all. And he contacted me afterwards and was like, I was trying to figure out what to do with a base. He's like, but your community did such amazing creative bases. We had one jumping out of a grave, this one through the graveyard. We had them,
do you have those photos in this post?
You should be able to scroll to the side, and it should have a bunch of different ones there. Yeah. So these are just a bunch of the different community entries and stuff that we did. Like, this one was so cool.
Oh, the black light. That's cool.
Cupcake. With all the black light stuff.
Yeah, and just don't eat the gobo.
Yeah. The girl that did this was one of her very first models she ever painted.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So this was, so he was super excited. He was like, the way that everybody used their creativity to base the model, he's like, was just amazing. I'm glad I didn't create. This one was a 13-year-old kid that did that one.
Oh, wow. That's really good.
Yeah, he did a great job on that one. So he actually is designing another model. He asked, can I design another one for next Halloween for your paint challenge? I said 100%. So we've kept in touch, and he's actually working on designing a model that we're going to use for this coming October.
Oh, that's
for
cool.
our paint challenge. Yeah.
I'm hoping, I got to figure out what I want to paint for LVO. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm actually kind of at the point where it's like I might just enter my Grimnar depending on how he turns out. But I really want to do the October thing, because after seeing like this gobo and the squig, I was just like, I really wanted to do that, but I just didn't have time because I had other obligations. Darn it.
Yeah, we usually only take them for a month. You know, we'll put them on, like, we'll talk about the model and stuff like that on stream, and then at the end of stream that night, the paint challenge opens up.
I like how he's got the chaos symbol on one side and then the imperial symbol on the other.
Yeah. So we'll open up the paint challenge, and then once we close the entries, we'll close them the day of a stream. We'll go into the stream and we'll go through everybody's entries. We'll talk about them. We'll discuss them. And then we'll open it up for voting for a week that night.
Oh, okay.
Everybody gets to vote on them, and they get to pick. You get to pick one first, one second, one third. We give points to all of them, and so the winner. So the one that you were just on, if you go back to the right, a couple of them that he's got like the hand sticking out of the ground. That one right there, that was our second place winner for that one.
Oh, okay.
And the one with the tree, a couple more to the right, was the third place. Yeah, that was third place. And then there's one that looks like he's coming up out of a glowing green grave. I think it's further to the right. Was our winner for that paint challenge.
That's the last one.
Oh, thought it was on there.
That's
Maybe it was
the
at
left.
the beginning.
Nope, it's not in there.
Yeah, maybe there's a second post. Because this one had like, there was like 20 something entries for this one. And you could only put so many pictures on there. So I had to do, the one that's right in the middle. That was the winner.
Yeah, I think if I entered, I think I'd get stomped because I'm not super creative with my bases like this kind of thing.
So, but
really
so
cool.
That was,
there's more of them.
That one right there. That one, that was that entry's very first model she ever painted. That was the first one.
Wow.
So
yeah, whoever did that, she did a great job.
Yeah, her husband's I think is the next one. So, and he does a pretty good job and stuff.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
Oh, James and the Giant Peach almost. Oh, it's
yeah, with a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. Oh, I was looking at this. Like I was like looking at the top of the bottle or top of the plinth. That's like a medicine bottle top.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. We've had two of them, just the Halloween one, the Christmas one.
Yeah, I mean, if I did one, this is probably how it would turn out with the base.
Yeah, it's so much fun, you know. People got really creative with the Christmas one. They created some really cool scenes for it. This one, I love that one with the other goblins running away from him.
Yeah. We're gonna get eaten. Oh, that'd be something you'd do.
Blast it off.
Oh, these are really cool. I'll cut that out. I'm sorry. I need to add another layer to this. So, okay, back to the 2-up. There we go. So, I've introduced a new segment. This is the second time I've done it. So, with ending the show, do you want to do any shout outs?
I mean, sure. I mean, of course, War Room Games. Without War Room Games, I wouldn't be in the hobby. Mm-hmm. And with what I've been able to do with the stream and with the hobby night and stuff, wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff if it wasn't for War Room Games. They're amazing guys. Super cool store, great group of guys. No, I just completely drew a blank on it, Some of the guys that I've had the opportunity to sit down, and paint with and stuff, Ray, of course, from War Room. And then, the bigger names, Sam and Uncle Adam, Caleb, Dan, Sean, all those guys, Emil, like just the opportunity that those guys gave me to pick their brains and to help me out and stuff like that. Like, I love the community. I love the community. There's another group of guys, Barely Battle Ready out of Utah. They do a lot of battle report streams and stuff like that. They've been a huge supporter of my stuff and helping me get going. And they're the ones that gifted me my first set of, one of their guys gave me my first stuff of ProAcryl paints. Okay. And so, just the people like that have really helped with getting my stuff going and helped me out. Of course, ProAcryl sponsored our Halloween giveaway or paint challenge, giving away a ton of paints and stuff to everybody. So that was awesome. At LVO, I did a fun thing with Instagram where I basically did Where's Waldo, but Where's the Depot?
I remember
and I
that.
I made videos over the weekend and did giveaways. Yeah. And AK gave me stuff to give away. ProAcryl gave me stuff to give away. Gamers Grass gave me stuff to give away. Josh, I just forgot his last name. He had the book.
Oh, you're talking about Dust.
Yeah, Dust. Josh Plassey.
Yeah, I bought a copy of that. I'm reading it right now. It's a great book. So many of those people gave us stuff. War Room, of course, gave us stuff to give away.
they all gave us stuff to give away throughout the weekend. So it was really cool because they were, I said, yeah, I'm doing these cool videos and we're going to give stuff away. And they're like, oh, well, here, have stuff. Give stuff away.
Hold on. I'll edit this in post, but I'll go grab my copy just so we can whore it out on the screen. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah. It's anybody who's like looking for a good fantasy novel. This is great. It's super easy to read. It's very fast paced. If you like Blake Crouch, his writing style is very similar.
Yeah. So very, very good book. Very good book. So.
Oh, that Taryn character. She's a nasty one.
Yeah. She's crazy.
Have you read the whole thing?
Almost.
Okay, don't spoil anything because I'm on page 81. I haven't been reading a whole ton lately, but I really like how it keeps jumping between characters for every chapter, and every chapter is only 5 to 10 pages long.
Yeah.
It makes reading really exciting because it's almost like reading a movie.
When you're like, I enjoyed it because you're like, oh, I want to get through these chapters to see what that character is still doing because they left it on such a cliffhanger. But then in the process of reading that chapter, you're like, well, crap, now I want to see what they're doing, So you just keep digging deeper and deeper into it and stuff. So, but it's just people like that, like companies.
Thanks, Josh. You've printed an addiction.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, buddy. It's people like Josh and like AK and Monument and Gamers Grass that really, make it fun to do the hobby because they want to support people so much and make it fun. And of course, Frontline Gaming for, giving us that opportunity with LVO and stuff like that. And, it's just those are the type of people that make this hobby fun and make this a great community.
Oh, and for anybody watching, if you guys do come to LVO, definitely hit up the Frontline booth. You'll walk they buy up tons of new old stock. You'll walk away with $400 or $500 worth of miniatures for $150.
Yeah, absolutely.
I walked out of there with a bag full of stuff, and so did my gal Pepper. And I'm just I just got $400 worth of minis for $180. This is great. I've got stuff to paint for the next 2 years. So, and honestly, in this segment, you are more than welcome to plug yourself too.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and stuff. So I stream on Twitch every other Tuesday night, usually from 5 or 6 p.m. Pacific until 9 or 10. I don't know, just depends on how we're going. Wednesday afternoons, stream from 2 to 6, and then Friday nights, again, about the same time as Tuesdays, we'll do streams. And then, of course, if you're ever in Vegas, Swing Boy War Room Games on a Monday night, 4 to 9 o'clock. We do our hobby night. We do our movies. Check out the Instagram. I always post the movies that we're doing that week and stuff on the Instagram. Our paint challenges are open to anybody. You don't have to be local. You don't have to be, we announce everything on the Discord. And I'll announce it on the Instagram. You paint the model. All you have to do is paint the base model. Other than that, you can do whatever you want. You can paint it however you want. You can base it. You can kit bash it, whatever you want. You just have to have that base model. And we've given away gift cards to War Room. We've given away almost $500, $600 in paints from ProAcryl and AK and brushes. We're going to give away a bunch of Shatterpoint stuff with this next one. So, stop by, say hello, and hang out for a bit. We have a lot of fun. In fact, in stream the other night, we came up with the next paint challenge, which we've got to come up with the model, find somebody that can make the model for us, because we decided that it's going to be Danny DeVito as a ratling.
Oh, God.
And I just started blasting.
That's going to be epic.
So somebody in the community has taken multiple models and kit bashed it to make the model. So I've just got to find somebody that can scan it and help us create it and make this model. of Danny DeVito as a ratling with just starting to blast.
Dude, if you can get a hold of her, you should hit up Louise from Rogue Hobbies and she'll see if she'll do it.
Oh, I should. She might. She'd be a good one for it.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap the show up for the evening. Thank you so much for coming on, Chris. Anybody who wants to check his stuff out, his social media has been listed the whole episode. He does great podcasts, or I'm sorry, he does great streaming on Twitch. I had it on like this previous Tuesday. It was actually like super relaxing to listen to, just him talking to his guests and all that stuff, or I'm sorry, his fans that watch the show. But yeah, definitely check his stuff out. If you're in Vegas, planning to come to Vegas, check out War Room Hobbies. We're both big on them. We're both, honestly, go check out ProAcryl. Like, Monument Hobbies makes some amazing paint, and both Chris and I are like big fans of their stuff. But I'm going to switch over to the ending screen. And it's been an awesome podcast. This is going to be a long one once I get it out, but it's totally worth listening to. I'm really stoked for everybody to hear it. And I should have a new episode out in the next, I don't know, I'm trying to drop everything Tuesday nights. So I'll talk to you guys then. Thank you for tuning in.